Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so I'm just looking at IG and paying attention to the NBA fan bases go crazy over their depth of their teams. I heard a dude say the Cavaliers have a deep team. They got like 8 guys on that team that have not proven themselves, man. 8 or 9 guys. If your team only goes 6 or 7 deep, you don't have any depth. If you are misevaluating talent and you think some of these nobody names are going to be good for you, you better hope your stars don't roll an ankle. I'm telling you, because I'm reading stuff and I'm like, where's the depth? Boston does not have depth. Milwaukee does not have depth. Cleveland does not have depth. We need to stop giving these teams all this credit. Denver, no depth. Can't afford to roll an ankle, baby. Not one ankle. Giannis goes down. Jokic goes down. Their teams go down. That's it. That's what it is. Because I'm looking at some of these teams and they think they're going to be really good and they're buying the ESPN nonsense. No. Miami. I think Miami actually has some depth. I think they actually do. Even though they lost some very key pieces, when you start getting into their depth chart, the reason why they may have a little depth is because they got Jovic coming back. They got Hawkes coming in. They brought in Richardson, even though I'm not a fan. I do believe he can help with the bench. Kyle Lowry, but there are players on that team who've proven themselves who can play in that system and ultimately do good things. Hayward Highsmith is a player that you expect to do good things. Some of the other guys. So the Miami Heat are actually better than I thought. They're actually better than I thought. And I will tell you guys the truth. I don't mean that I think they're getting back to the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals. Absolutely not. But they do have some players that they can rely upon. If for some reason Bam goes down with an injury or Jimmy goes down with an injury, they don't necessarily have to go on a 7 or 8 game losing streak. But some of these teams that you think are going to win 50 and 60 games, they do not have any depth. I look at a team like the OKC Thunder, have plenty of depth. Lottery picks up and down the team. The Houston Rockets, they got some mid on the back of their bench, but they have plenty of depth. I think they would have had more depth if they wouldn't have jumped in the way and did things. You didn't have to do nothing. Just draft everybody you had and leave it alone. But nah, they had to bring in Brooks and Green and dude from the Suns. I mean, they said, okay, we got a nice pack of young kids. How can we bring some mid to them? And that is exactly what the Houston Rockets did. I kid you not. Phoenix has some depth. They put some players on that team, even though they're really top heavy. They did a good job of picking and plugging good role players and making the trade with the Portland Trailblazers to get themselves some depth. So I would say they have depth. The Lakers are the deepest team in the league. Period. The Sacramento Kings have depth. I look at the Charlotte Hornets. They have depth, even though their players don't quite match. They have too many guards in some areas, too many centers, not enough forwards, that kind of thing. They got plenty of depth. If they roll an ankle, they should continue to play well. I don't know how that's going to translate in the standings for them specifically because you have to see them actually turn that into something. But the point is they got a bunch of players that can play. Gordon Hayward's healthy. Bridges is back. They drafted a bunch of guards. They got a good team, man. Ball is together. It's a good team with some depth. Brooklyn, believe it or not, has pretty good depth, especially if they are willing to use their rookies. They drafted pretty well. You would expect something from their team overall, even though I think they have a lot that they could switch around, maybe trade some pieces to bring themselves a little more top heaviness, I guess is what you can say. They can get a little better. But overall, they have a solid bench. Indy, just like Charlotte, a lot of guards, not quite what they need in a lot of places, but they can trade some things to get pieces that make more sense for their roster. They have the assets. Clippers, believe it or not, they do have a decent team right now, especially if they go ahead and get James Harden for the package that I'm hearing they're going to get him for. That's an okay squad that has top-heavy nature that could probably do some really good things if James Harden's on the squad. Philadelphia, there is some depth there. I'm not going to sit there and say they're a deep team, but they have some depth. The New York Knicks have some depth. Golden State Warriors, yeah, I would say they have some depth, even though I don't like how their team is constructed with Chris Paul eating up so much of the cap. Ultimately, you're going to find enough young players, and they drafted well, believe it or not. I do believe they drafted well to where I'm not going to sit up here and say they're a shallow team. But it's some of these teams, man, that y'all think are going to really, really do good, and the ESPNs of the world are telling you they're a really good team, mid. Mid with top heaviness, but their teams, they don't have any bench. Denver arguably has the worst bench in the league. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Denver arguably has the worst bench in the league. They really need to only play like 7 players again this season. And one of those players is not Bruce Brown. Maybe the draft picks that they picked up can do good things. Hunter can be a good shooter, maybe, if they can count on him. But do you expect Reggie Jackson to do anything this year? Christian Braun's a player I like, so maybe he can replace Bruce Brown. But who's replacing him? You see what I'm saying? The role that he played last year. Who's replacing that if he's going to replace Bruce Brown? The depth isn't there. And they got a lot of players that you cannot count on to stay healthy. Are you counting on Murray to stay healthy? Are you counting on Porter in the back? Jokic is by himself, whether y'all know it or not. I'm telling y'all, if anybody rolls an ankle in an 81-game series, or if they have a knee or something like that, tumbling down the standings. And that is the problem with betting on some of these teams, man. They're teetering on whether or not stars can stay healthy throughout the duration of the series, the season, and that is a bad bet when you don't have adequate backups for those stars. They're just humans, and you got them playing 81 games rather, with the in-season tournament coming in. I'm telling y'all, man, Vegas is telling you things that I don't know if Vegas can back up when it comes down to it, because at the end of the day, what you don't want is for superstars to go down with an injury and rush back because their teams start to suck without them. And that's exactly what I see here. It's exactly what I see here. Jason Tatum go out with an injury. The Boston Celtics going to lose like 7 to 8 games during that duration of that time. Milwaukee Bucks, if Dame's not out there, who is defending besides Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo, period? Like, on the team. They're going to be relying upon their offense to do everything for them. I don't like how this is set up. I don't like how this is set up. It feels to me that we got a big, huge pot full of Brooklyn Nets. You remember last year's Brooklyn Nets when I was telling y'all before they made the trades, Kyrie, KD, and Claxton, and of course Harden? I told y'all that team wasn't real. I told y'all. And the reason why that was is because they could not withstand injury and their stars were not to be trusted to stay healthy. That is what I'm seeing with a lot of these contenders, man. That's what I'm seeing. For those of y'all who want to bet Vegas, y'all need to study what I'm talking about before putting any money on these teams, because that's the point of what I'm saying right now. ESPN's talking up a lot of these squads, and they ain't going to be able to back it up if any injuries happen, and you can count on injuries because the season is long as hell, and they don't have the benches. That's the point. They don't have the benches. You got to understand. If I got to play my superstar 40 minutes a game, and he's going up against teams that have 2 and 3 waves of bench players and starters that are healthier because those bench players can give those starters spells, how does that match up well with them over the course of that season? That's the equation that the ESPN and these guys don't want to tell you, because they're too busy giving all the stars all the credit. But stars need rest. They've been playing careers long so far. A lot of these dudes been in the league for over 8 years. And now they're supposed to go into this season with nobody behind them that they can trust? How does that work? Going up against teams like the Lakers, going up against teams like OKC that really have those benches? How? That's what I want to know. How, y'all? So I'm telling you, I'm seeing a bunch of Brooklyn Nets all over the place. Some of your favorite teams, some of the ones that are supposed to be there in the end, the only way they're going to be there is if they overachieve in the health department. And the best way to supplement that process is to have a bench. It's 82 games, man. 81. I keep forgetting this. 81 games. That is far too many games to count on. Now, if we were just playing a tournament, then yeah, you can count on these teams because they don't have to play that much. The likelihood that they're going to get hurt isn't real. But when you talk about this many games, and they're trying to rely upon people that really have not proven themselves, they're going to need those guys to prove themselves if for any reason at all these guys go down with an injury. I'm telling you, the best thing the Denver Nuggets can do is overplay their bench at certain points in the season. Even though those guys are not proven, you got to make them turn into something, man. Cleveland Cavaliers, they running out there with some garbage, man. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. The Cleveland Cavaliers are running out there with absolute garbage on the bench, man. I like the rookie that they picked up. Okay, but Max Strus is going to have to play like a starter coming off the bench. I like Max Strus. He's solid. That's one player off the bench. Who else you got? Stevens, Tristan Thompson. Are you serious? Dean Wade. When has Dean Wade ever did anything? I'm telling you, these teams aren't good, man. The people tell you they're good, and they want you to bet on them, and they want you to believe in them, but your feelings are going to be hurt at the end of the seasons because their GMs and their scouting department did not bring them enough talent, man. They just didn't. That's what it really comes down to. They want to tell you the Lakers don't have the talent. We got nothing but talent. LeBron James don't even have to play for a good whole month. We should probably still win this many games because that's how much depth we actually have. Seriously. It's not even an exaggeration. I'm serious. And so it really does come down to this. Count 81. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 81. And then understand that you're sending the same bodies out there every single night to play 40 minutes a game. Sometimes in back-to-backs, they're not allowing load management properly. They want to get away to that. So that means the likelihood of guys getting injured based on the fact that they've been used to doing load management for the last several years is even higher. Now you're asking bodies who are conditioned for certain types of rest that they can't have that rest anymore. I'm telling you. Sometimes we got to think for ourselves, man. We can't listen to people. Can't listen to them because they're going to tell you that something isn't what it's not because it's in their best interest to do so. I ain't getting paid a dime. And I'm telling you, Denver was a bad bet to win the championship when they won it because they only wanted to go 6 deep. Teams that go 6 deep don't usually go far. Cleveland did it last year. They didn't get very far. The Knicks, even though they have the depth, they didn't want to use it. They didn't go far, man. They got past the second round. That was it. The only team they beat was the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm telling you, depth is important. Sacramento has depth. They didn't lose anybody. And they brought in the Vincikov, who I hear can hit every 3-point shot he takes. You know what I'm saying? So these are teams you got to really be considerate of. You know, I keep telling y'all who has the depth and who doesn't. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to translate to them beating those stars, because if those stars are healthy, they're just going to win those games. That's a real thing. But don't let them stars go down. And what you're betting on is that they're going to make it throughout the duration of the season. Not in specific games where they're healthy and everybody's spry and they can run the score up by 40 because it's Dame and Giannis running the pick and roll. We talking about the game when Giannis ain't playing. And it's only Dame out there running around with whoever's on the team. You know, they're going to be asking for Brook Lopez at 37 to play 48 minutes. How'd that work? Who's his backup center? You know, these are things like, and y'all just going to bet on these teams to win the championship, and I'm telling y'all. Now, there is a world where some of these teams are going to succeed, and that world is because the NBA has invested so much in these teams, they're going to make sure that these teams win. Okay? Let's just be real. Officiated a certain way, this and that, teams can win. We've seen funky officiating. We've seen that type of stuff. And if the NBA wants to do that, then of course they'll be there in the end. And if that's what you're betting on, have at it. If that's what you're betting on, have at it. But if you're looking at what it is that I'm looking at, 82-game schedule versus a six-man rotation, 7-man rotation, I'm telling you, terrible bet. Terrible bet. It worked for Denver, but they got lucky, man. They simply got lucky. Not to mention that they ran into a play-in tournament team in the finals. I'm sorry, y'all. We're going to tell the truth about the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat were a play-in tournament team, dog. Anybody would want to see a play-in tournament team in the finals. Let's just be honest. That's just what it was. They were a play-in tournament team, and they got to the finals with a very, very, very strong push to it. They did their thing. But at the end of the day, when they ran into a real contender with the real MVP, even though I know, salute to Joel. Point is, wasn't much to look at. And the Lakers are included. We were a play-in tournament team, even though it's a little skirted by the fact that we made the trade at the deadline. But still, we were in a play-in tournament. Denver ran into us, knocked us off. Denver ran into another play-in tournament team in the finals, knocked them off. That's how Denver got there. 2 play-in tournament teams they were able to beat. Teams they probably should have beat anyway, if they were who they said they were. So these are the type of things that we're thinking about, man. If the NBA doesn't fix these games, it's going to be incumbent upon these superstars to stay healthy. They have to stay healthy. Okay? And people who are betting on the Clippers, like I said, they have depth. They bring James Harden to their team. If they don't, I don't know that they have enough to even do some of the things that they're hopeful they can do. I think they're going to get James Harden probably within the next several days. I think he's going to be there. I think they're going to bite the bullet. They're trying to get a third team involved, try to get the pick equity that they don't necessarily want to give up. Maybe they can use some of their other players to do so. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it looks like it's going to get done anyway. But I'm telling y'all, man, this is the point of view that I always come from, that sometimes doesn't work out because at the end of the day, if guys do stay healthy, then of course they can overpower players who they're better than. That's just what it is. And if that's what all you're looking at, then of course keep looking at what the ESPN's looking at, because that's what they're looking at. That ain't what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the people who are supposed to be giving them a breather, man. I'm looking at the people who are supposed to allow their teams not to fall off a cliff if for some reason they're not there for 3 weeks. They're not there. Some of these big contenders that y'all are counting on, they're not there. Jason Tatum better stay healthy. Jaylen Brown better stay healthy. Who's spelling these guys? Okay? Because some of the key role players that they were counting on, the Marcus Smarts and the Grant Williams and The other Williams, of course, in Portland, guy's gone. And they replaced him with like two guys. Porzingis, who's injury prone as hell, and Jrue Holiday, who's in his 30s. Now, in one game situation, of course, you expect him to win. But in an 81 game situation, how healthy do you expect him to stay? That's all I'm trying to say. BDL 44, I thank you all for watching. Out.